One day after the FBI and Texas Rangers raided her Northwest Side offices, Precinct 2 Constable Michelle Barrientes Vela is changing her mind about running for re-election.
Eyewitness News reporter Mariah Medina is outside Precinct 2 headquarters. Mariah, what does this mean for the constable?
Well, her announcement certainly changes things. In fact, it could mean that she's resigned from office. Precinct 2 Constable Michelle Barrientes Vela announcing today.
Yes, I will be seeking sheriff in 2020.
A declaration that may come with some strings attached. The Texas Constitution says certain office holders who announce their candidacy for another post automatically resign their position if they announce their intention to run for another seat more than a year and 30 days before their current term is set to expire. By our count, the announcement would have to come after December 2nd of this year. But does her statement to KENS 5 count as an announcement as outlined in the Texas Constitution? That part's unclear. The Secretary of State's Director of Elections declined to comment on that, but pointed KENS 5 to Attorney General opinions. One reads, a person who states without qualifications that she will run for a particular office has announced candidacy. Should Vela's post become vacant, it'll be up to the County Commissioner's Court to fill her position. But in the meantime,
I'm not planning to resign anytime soon. The constituents elected me to do a job, and it would be unfair to me to leave the seat vacant.
now County Judge Nelson Wolf is expected to make a statement tomorrow regarding Vela's announcement to run for sheriff. Sheriff Javier Salazar declining to comment on this. Reporting live from the city's northwest side, Mariah Medina, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.